you've seen in your travels have seen the success that we have in 4G. They want to claim that for themselves in the next generation. So here are some of the things that the FCC is doing to maintain U.S. leadership in 5G. First, we have scheduled 5G spectrum auctions. We're going to conduct the 28 gigahertz auction in November, followed immediately by the 24 gigahertz auction. Just yesterday, I announced, and today I will be publishing my plan to get additional spectrum out into the commercial marketplace, looking at the lower 37 gigahertz band, for example, where we would resolve some issues and set up a band plan and explore different sharing protocols. Additionally, I'm proposing to my colleagues, and if they agree, we will in fact make available more spectrum in the 26 and 42 gigahertz bands. And so we are taking action there to make sure that more flexible wireless use spectrum is made available. We are moving as quickly as we can on the spectrum front to make sure that we set the stage, so to speak, so that innovators and entrepreneurs can take advantage of it. The infrastructure piece is also critical, though. The 5G networks of the future are going to look very different from the 4G networks with macro cell site towers and the like. So the unspoken part of the 5G equation, I think, is that infrastructure policy needs to be modernized as well to make sure that small cells, for example, face streamlined regulatory reviews, and that getting more fiber in the ground, especially in rural areas, is something that can
and that's on the rural side of it, particularly in the 3.5 gigahertz spectrum. That's very important to rural communities. Don't want them overlooked. What's the status of that NPRM, and can you commit to working with all stakeholders to make sure that rural areas like rural Montana are not left behind?
Absolutely, Senator. And I've seen some of those rural areas in your state, and I understand how important it is for them to have wireless service. I've delegated the leadership on this issue to Commissioner O'Reilly. I understand that he's meeting actively with stakeholders. I myself can commit to you that I'd be willing to work with you and any other stakeholders who might be interested in making sure that this 3.5 spectrum gigahertz spectrum is used for the benefit.
Yeah, and the stakes again are so high. I fear complacency right now in the United States regarding the challenges of China and their innovation ecosystem. I started the morning here a couple weeks ago in Shanghai. I went to grab a cup of coffee at Starbucks, the largest Starbucks in the world. They're opening up one new Starbucks every 15 hours in China. I tried to pay with some RMB. They looked at me like, why are you using cash? I says, well, I could use a credit card. Why are you using a credit card? It's cashless, it's credit cardless, it's all done on the phone here. With Alipay and WeChat and so forth. Chairman Pai, I believe it's important we prioritize our unserved areas before upgrading areas that already have access. There are many communities in Montana that still lack any access to broadband, and I believe that we should use the limited amount of federal money that we have, such as our US and USF funds, to build up broadband to these unserved communities. Do you agree that we should limit wasting taxpayer dollars overbuilding networks and instead use those funds for our unserved communities?
I absolutely agree with you, Senator. I think it's not just Congress's expectation, but it's the American public's expectation that we will stretch these scarce federal funds as far as possible, and that means not overbuilding. If there is private investment in an area or where the government is already subsidizing one competitor, we need to be able to target the unserved areas, the parts of Montana and the country that are off the grid on the wrong side of the digital divide, to make sure as many Americans as possible get access.
Thank you. Chairman Simons, I recently introduced the bipartisan Safe Kids Act, which would ensure that our children's privacy is protected. Unfortunately, we've seen an increase in online platforms misusing our personal information and breaking the trust of the American people. Do you agree that children's privacy is a unique issue and that we should have added protections online to keep our kids safe?
I do, sir. I do. Absolutely, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, I'm out of time. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chair. Mr. Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman, on taking over the chairmanship of this subcommittee. Welcome to both of you. And I want to start by associating myself with the comments of the ranking member, Senator Coons, both with respect to net neutrality. As you know very well, we had a vote in the House yesterday, 52 to 47, overturning the rule. Here in the Senate, that will go to the House. We're hoping the House follows the Senate lead. We're going to have to agree to disagree with you on that. I also agree with Senator Coons about the concerns on consolidation and media ownership. My questions really relate also to broadband deployment in rural areas. The FCC has its annual 706 broadband deployment